Greetings. You're listening to Rebels Remembered, featuring Caitlin DeFord and Kelsey DeFord.
Greetings, fellow travelers across the galaxy. I am Caitlin.
I am Kelsey.
And this is Rebels Remembered. And I say that weird every time.
It slowly becomes a valley.
This is Rebels Remembered. And we are discussing episode 7, I believe, Out of the Darkness.
Out of the Darkness aired originally on November 10th, 2014, and also apparently on Disney XD streaming, before streaming was really a thing, a week prior. So the synopsis of this episode is, while on a supply run, 2 members of the crew find themselves stranded, but not alone, on a seemingly abandoned locale. This episode was written by Kevin Hops, which is important because this is the same writer who did Fight or Flight. And the reason that's important is because this episode is very similar to Fight or Flight in that it's 2 characters, kind of a buddy venture. So 2 out of the 6 Ghost crew are more focused in this episode.
Yeah, I think that, especially it being season 1, there's a lot of these early episodes that it's introducing you to the characters, but also kind of showing their dynamics and kind of showing how they work together as a team, but also the relationships with each other individually. So we had, the episode with Zeb and Ezra, and then now we have this one with Hera and Sabine.
Mm-hmm. And it's very similar in that in those family dynamics, even if you have a family of 5, the relationship is different between different people. Like, my relationship with you is different from a relationship with my other sister, Kylie, and my dad. Like, it's a different relationship.
Yeah, different dynamic, which I think, again, since season 1, I think they were probably playing around with that. Like, what can we do with, like, if we split them up, if we do 2 here or 2 there, but also it helps to kind of tell the story.
Right, and again, it's needed because of the plot of this one with Sabine and Hera, their dynamic, and working on trust issues.
Mm-hmm. So we begin the episode right in the middle of a mission, and the Phantom's being pursued by TIE fighters, and of course here you get Hera's... You've seen her as a pilot, but here you get to see her like outmaneuver TIE fighters, and when she's in a really tight spot. And while she's doing this maneuvering, and they're trying to avoid TIEs because they got cargo or something. Or intel or something.
So they get intel, I believe, from this mysterious person named Fulcrum, who tells them that there's important cargo on this convoy ship that I think they're in pursuit of. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
I can't remember. I just know that while this is going on, there's a part where Sabine, that's when in this whole episode, this is where she starts questioning, like, Fulcrum's intel was wrong. I remember that being said
right, because
episode.
Fulcrum had said that, we don't know what Fulcrum said, because it doesn't say directly what they say, but it seemed like the intel they got was not that there was going to be this many TIE fighters. It wasn't going to be heavily protected and guarded as it was.
They were thinking it was going to be an easy mission to do, and it wasn't.
And also, what they're chasing or trying to shoot down or whatever, Hera's the only person on the Phantom. Is she flying the Phantom or the Ghost?
She's flying the Phantom.
Phantom. She's the only one that knows what they're actually doing, what the actual mission is.
Mm-hmm. That's So it's her, Ezra, and Sabine in the Phantom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they evade, they escape the TIEs, they land, or not land, I think they dock with the Ghost, and during this battle, the underbelly of the Phantom gets scraped, and you just see this fuel leaking. They don't know it, but it happens, kind of like the audience knows there's a fuel leak. Back on the Ghost, Sabine reiterates her anger with Hera and Kanan withholding information. She demands to come on the next rendezvous with Fulcrum. Hera orders all to run a diagnostic check on the Phantom, which she gives this task to Zeb and Ezra.
And Chopper.
Which
is really interesting because we learned that Ezra is able to fix a ship, which is pretty interesting, and I don't know if this is something that's continued with Force-sensitive kids. Being able to fix machines and had an aptitude. I don't know if that's because it's Force sensitive or that's just him.
That's kind of like Rey too.
Yeah, that's kind of who I thought
innate
But this was before Rey, by the way.
Oh, true. But, I feel like, she saw it with Anakin, too. He's a pod
building
racer.
the robot.
Oh, in the pod. Yeah,
Real
3PO. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, she gives him that job to do, and of course Zeb just can't take it seriously. Neither can really Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that scene where Chopper basically clears the filter of the ship while he's still down there trying to fix the steering because the steering's off,
Mm-hmm.
and that leads to more bickering that we're already familiar with.
It's kind of like you give your kids a job to do. It doesn't get all the way done because there's bickering or fighting involved. So it's kind of like, you got this relationship with Zeb and Ezra and Chopper. They're like the three, you had one job in this episode.
And they don't even run the full diagnostic because they're not aware that the fuel of the
they don't even finish the. That's what I'm saying. They don't even finish the check because they're who they are. And then there's this part where I don't see it in my notes, but Kanan and Hera meet up, and Hera tells him Fulcrum's intel was incorrect, and we got basically telling what happened, and he said, yeah, it's it's easy to underestimate the Empire nowadays, so he's like, it's fine, I just don't think Fulcrum realized the bigness of the job. And then all of a sudden Sabine walks in and is like, by the way, I don't know, she feels like she's left out. Like she wants to know more than they're telling her.
Right. And that goes again back to, we get a very, very vague statements about her backstory in this. We do know, and we learn in this episode, that she was in the Imperial Academy. That's new information, I believe. She said it before, I think, when she was speaking in Droids in Distress, that she's like, oh, I'm at the Imperial Academy. I just thought that was her playing a part. I didn't realize that was she actually, she was part of the Imperial Academy, and like we mentioned in Breaking Ranks, you will do this, no question.
No questions
asked. Kind of blind trust.
And, Kanan tells her it's Hera's job to find missions that also allow them to survive and get credits. And then that's when she tells him, like, look, I was Imperial Cadet, I never questioned them, and that's why I left. So that's all you get at this beginning of this episode. You don't get any background to what happened there. That's all you get. Like, okay, she used to be a cadet. Hera and Sabine take the Phantom and they head for a meetup with Fulcrum on Fort Annexes. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
An abandoned base located on a large asteroid. Sabine again asks who Fulcrum is, and Hera acknowledges that he is an ally against the Empire. So I kind of feel for Sabine because there's this issue of trust in this whole episode of, can I trust what you're telling me?
Right, but it goes back, Hera tells her when she just keeps pushing and pushing, like, I need to be trusted, and she comes back with, you have to have faith, and this is bigger than your issues with wanting to be told everything. One day that will come, but right now it's like to protect everyone in the rebellion, which Sabine takes offense to.
But she doesn't see that. She just sees it as, why are you withholding information? It's kind of sus a little bit. Like,
but I see it as, I wrote my notes, I see it as lack of trust on both sides. Hera, I can kind of understand from her point of view because they have their robot that can inject you with crap to make you talk. So I understand from her perspective, but also Sabine, I think, needs to trust Hera. I think she specifically says that. However, in Rebels Recon that I watched for this episode, they mentioned that Hera has just this, they were comparing Hera and Sabine, they said Hera just has this unquestionable faith in the rebellion because she's kind of been in it since she was a kid. She's already fully committed, whereas Sabine is like, yeah, that's great, but I kind of need to be told what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes Hera such a great character is, out of the whole Ghost crew, she truly believes. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. She has probably, out of all of them, the most hope, the most faith in what they're doing and them succeeding.
But even Hera also understands Sabine when Sabine says very vaguely, like, I followed them and it was a nightmare. And she says, you know this. So Hera knows more than the audience knows about her backstory. But again, I still see it as Sabine also needs to trust Hera and Kanan as well. But understanding where she came from the Academy, I also
you can see why she is having trouble.
Yeah.
Trusting them. So they're in the Phantom. and they're heading toward Fort Annexes, the abandoned base. They land. Again, it's shown to the audience that the ship was losing fuel, because again, Ezra
We know that.
and Zeb
The audience knows
had
this.
one job, and they didn't do it. They still aren't aware of it. This time, Fulcrum is a no-show, but their cargo is there. Okay, that's another thing. If I was to be like, okay, wow, now they're a no-show. So it's like another thing.
Strike two.
Yeah, strike two here. Hera and Sabine take containers back to the ship, and Sabine says she needs to know that Hera and Katie can trust her. She says she was once a Imperial cadet and is now difficult to follow orders without question. Okay, this is where Hera tells her that... What is it she says? I can't think of
You
the
can't
line.
reveal what you don't know.
Yeah, you can't reveal what you don't know. Like, all you need to know is... This is it. For the moment.
Plus, you have to remember, Sabine is a child. She's 15 years old, I think, when this starts.
Oh, yeah, she says... Here it is in my notes. We trust you, we just can't tell you everything. In case, they're captured, and Sabine's like, well, they won't get me to talk. I'm like, they can pretty much get people to talk, Sabine. Like, I find it, I admire your bravery and courage there, but, I mean...
I find it interesting that she doesn't know that at the Imperial Academy, like the links that they'll go to try to get people to...
I think she's aware of the links.
But she's more confident in herself, not saying anything, which is admirable, but... It's kind of like when you're a kid and, like, you might have some dysfunction or family drama going on in your family, rightly so, doesn't involve you in those conversations if you're a child. Mm-hmm. You're like, but I want to know. You're not telling me everything.
Or it's like, look at that big Ferris wheel. Mommy, I want to ride. No, you will get scared. Like, they know you better than... And the child's like, no, I want to go. And then it ends up being exactly what happened that the parent said. So, I think that's just Sabine's own... courage and confident of, they will never make me to talk, type of attitude. Okay, so they're on this base, and they're getting the containers, and one thing I noticed that I didn't notice until this rewatch was, on one of the crates, there's like a fulcrum symbol on it that Hera looks at. I thought that was an interesting little...
And she's like, oh, I'll grab that one. So she doesn't even want to know her to see the symbol on there, which is kind of interesting. Like, man, she doesn't want her to know anything about fulcrum at all.
I mean, but again, it's for her own protection. Yeah. It still sucks, though, when she is young. So it's also that feeling of, I think we all experience it in youth, where you feel like people don't want to trust you with things because of your age, and you kind of feel left out. I mean,
despite their age, like I say, they are Ezra and Sabine's ages, being teenagers at this point, they're still involved in a war. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, I think they're, I'm old enough to handle it type of talk. So they're getting the containers, and while they're doing that, they notice scratches on the ground. And Hera thinks, oh, someone dragged them away. But which is odd, because they have those little, those buttons you push and they lift. She said that's kind of odd. Why would they drag it away, And then they head for a nearby hangar. It's dark and filled with wreckage. They realize they're not dealing with a who, but a what. And these giant creatures emerge from the shadows and attack them. Does it ever say in the episode what these are?
I don't think they ever say the word Frynock in this episode.
They are Frynocks, right?
I think it's spelled Firenox, but like Fyrnock, but I think it's just Frynocks. I could be saying that completely wrong.
Because I we're all about creatures on this. We always flub their names and stuff. But I was told the whole episode was like, do they ever say the name Frynock?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. But the creatures are Frynocks. They attack them and they blast them, keeping them at bay, and they escape the hangar. The creatures follow, but stop before running into the sunlight. So it's revealed that they...
apparently don't like sun.
This one they notice there's a large asteroid. Because this is such a weird... It's an abandoned base. In the middle of nowhere.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some trivia here. So, Fort Anaxis, which is this base, was originally a full planet. Okay? So, this asteroid field that they are in is that planet broken up.
Oh.
Now, the base is still intact because it's on a large enough piece of the planet that's still intact. So this was originally conceived for a Bad Batch, ironically, arc of the Clone Wars in 2013. It was scrapped because it was canceled, and then they brought it back into some of that artwork into this episode.
Oh.
But it's after the Clone Wars, and it's after, I think even Hera says it's after the Clone War. I don't know if, I know later in the final season of Clone Wars, season 7, there's a battle of Fort Anaxis in that. And that's why you see a lot of Republic gunner ships that the Frontenacs have torn up and things like that. I don't know if the planet blows up in that episode.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think it does. I think it's after that battle. But yeah, just a little trivia there.
Thanks for putting that in perspective. I'm like, this is a weird planet. Like, why is there these asteroids?
It used to be a
floating?
planet.
Yeah.
The asteroids are the planet. It's just broken up.
That makes sense. And there is a sun.
Yes.
I don't know if it's, there's so many suns in Star Wars. We don't know which sun it is. There's too many. But they notice, like, the asteroids, they keep kind of floating past the sun, and as they cover the sun, it kind of gives these creatures their chance to be on the offensive.
Yeah.
Or defensive, or whatever it is that they're doing. I think it's Sabine that notices there's a huge asteroid that's about to block
it out.
sun.
They're gonna have another eclipse. Gotta put the eclipse in there. We're still on that.
That's gonna cover the sun, yeah.
Enough to where it's gonna kind of linger and give them more time to
Get eaten, possibly. Yeah. So they're like, okay, let's get out of Dodge. They head back to the Phantom thinking, okay, we're done. We're done. Like, they load out the cargo in there, like, they're out of there. And then they notice that they have no fuel. Now they notice they have no fuel. So they reach out to the three amigos, Ezra, Zeb, and Chopper, and ask, did they run the check? They did. But she asked them, did they check the results? And they didn't. One of my favorite scenes is when they're like, they realize they screwed up, kinda.
Mm-hmm. They go back and look at the diagnostic and realize, oh, there's no fuel.
Yeah, and they tell them that, and then they kind of tell them like, their situation. And my favorite scene is they're both arguing outside of Kanan's quarters. Like, we gotta tell them they're in trouble, but don't let them know it's our fault, And they're arguing kind of outside the door, and then they walk in. And Kanan's like, Hera and Sabine are in trouble, aren't they? And Ezra's like, oh, did you sense it? It's like, no. I heard you two arguing outside the door.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts, too.
Just a light, funny little moment. So now the ghost is on their way to get them. So I guess while they're waiting to get saved, they don't think they're going to be, the asteroid's still about to block the sun, and that's when Sabine kind of notices these red-looking containers on the ground there.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that it's rhydonium. Am I saying that right?
Rhydonium, yeah.
And it's very, very explosive, obviously. Why Sabine would like it. And she has a plan to try to avoid the Frontenacs until help arrives.
Right. I will also say, if I'm going to back up just a little bit, so the scene before Hera calls them, and it has that moment where Zeb's trying to eat lunch, and Chopper and Ezra just like fling it on his face. That is space waffles.
Oh, okay.
So we have an idea what space waffles look like. They're triangles with holes in them, so like basically waffles, but like in a triangle shape.
Are they actually space waffles?
It never says in the show, but in the script, it's what it's called. It's
okay, because I
concept
remember
art.
so many fan arts of like space waffles going around, and I'm like, is this a real thing, or is this just, a fan created thing?
Yeah, StarWars.com for the episode has concept art, and it literally says space waffles, and has what it looks like. And like back in I think 2013, when they were doing the concept art for the show.
Well,
Dang.
I mean, Uga's and all the restaurants in Galaxy's Edge, please make some space waffles.
Yeah. Oh, another thing about Galaxy's Edge. Sorry, I'm on food now for no reason. Okay, so the part where Kanan, and it's at the beginning, it's after the mission's failed, and Kanan comes in with, it looks like something to drink for himself and Hera.
Mm-hmm.
It's never said, but what they're drinking in the script is actually Spyrin calf. This was actually served in Galaxy's Edge at Ronto's Roasters for a while. It hasn't. I don't think it's served there anymore. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that like Spyrin calf appeared here, and then it
appeared
in
that's
the park.
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if this is the first instance we have of that. I'm sure somewhere in Star Wars lore it's somewhere else, but
Yeah, someone Google that for us. Or we'll Google it later. Let's see. Sorry, you got me on food now.
yeah. So back to Rhydonium. So
Yeah.
they realize they're going to use these Rhydonium canisters. which to blow up, not blow up. I guess kind of blow up the Phrynox, right?
They set them up in, this is one of my favorite animations. They set them up in waves. So they set up, one wave of them, 2, 3, 4, and they're going to act as bait for these creatures. And as the creatures come out, they're going to start shooting the canisters, as they get to them.
Mm-hmm.
As the sun is finally blocked and shadows fall, the creatures attack. Hera and Sabine run, drawing them closer. Just the animation of the
Very
explosions.
quickly paced, yeah.
Yeah, the pacing, by the way, the pacing of this whole rest of this episode is so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's not, there's not really a slow part, except for when we're back with Zeb and Ezra and Kanan on the Ghost.
I like the part where it's like them setting up the waves and then them running. And I like the way the movement of the camera for the shot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess shot, not really shot, but yeah, kind of shot of it, zooming in as they're running backwards, firing. I always thought that part was cool.
I love the way the explosions are animated. One of my favorite parts is, they fall back and they blast, and they fall back and they blast, and then they get to one of the last waves, I guess. And then Hera says, light it up. And they both shoot their blasters in this huge explosion. It's colorful.
It's very colorful. You got orange and green and purple. Which, by the way, Rhydonium does power some starships. I don't know which one specifically, but that would explain why. If one blows up, it's ooh, that was pretty. Yeah, because it's powered by Rhydonium.
It's interesting also that this might be a plot hole. You said this planet exploded, right? How did the Rhydonium survive?
That's a good question. How did I guess look? Because it was just on that piece that didn't get hit.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah.
How it's just chilling there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
or because it is an asteroid. I guess it's on an asteroid now. What used to be the planet. It would be a good go-between for other. Maybe not so
a depot type of
noble,
thing?
Smuggling probably. Smugglers are probably using it for go-betweens.
Yeah. But you said it can fuel starships, so maybe someone went to help their buddies and dropped off a container of them to try to help them refuel, and then they got eaten.
I feel like I need to watch that Clone Wars episode just to figure out if I see anything in there that's in Rebels.
Did you guys bring the Rhydonium? How did it get here? These are questions. Yeah, I just thought about that when you said it.
Yeah, it should be, They just luck, I guess.
But anyway, no matter how they got there, it makes a really cool explosion.
Mm-hmm.
So they survived 4 waves, and then Sabine's like, okay, what about wave 5? And Hera's like,
we didn't plan for a wave 5.
Yeah. So this time they go on top of the Ghost, and they're blasting the creatures, trying to, not get eaten. And finally the Ghost arrives to save them. There's a little battle where, the ramp's being lowered, and Ezra jumps down with his little slingshot and tries to save the day. And yeah, he fails miserably. Sabine saves him twice, actually.
Yeah.
Once is when he's not paying attention. He's like, oh, they're not that tough. And she shoots one, and then the other one that's on top of him.
Yeah, she fires at it.
Finally, with the crew safe, Hera takes control of the Ghost. She picks up the Phantom with the ship's magnetic locks and blasts off. Hera assures Sabine, so when they get back to the Ghost or whatever, Hera assures Sabine that she trusts her with her life and asks Sabine to trust her. And I like how Sabine's response isn't an immediate yes. It's, I'll try to do that.
Which, what did we say about try now? But, I mean...
She's a Mandalorian.
yeah, she's a Mandalorian, so that would make sense. Yeah, they're kind of known to be hard-headed and a little bit stubborn.
So what I do like about this episode is it goes through this journey with... Sabine is who I'm interested in this episode, because, I love Hera, and she's an awesome character, but I could understand where Sabine was coming from, because I have trust issues too, so... And usually it stems from, I don't want to get psychological here, but it stems from something that happened to you in the past.
Yeah.
So in her case, it was being in an Imperial cadet, them telling her stuff, and you're not supposed to question it. You're just a number. Right. You have to listen to what we say. And I don't know her full story on what happened when she was a cadet. I feel like I do, but I don't want to spoil it for people. Because we still don't know the full story.
At this point, yeah.
Something must have happened to make her realize, no, what the Empire is doing is wrong. and I've been lied to this entire time.
Right.
So, I understand why she has a trust issues again, because of where she's coming from and what happened to her.
But I will say, because I like Hera.
Yeah, I like how I'm going to be the Sabine. If you notice our paper clips, I gave me the pink one, I gave you the green one.
Oh, I didn't even notice that you did that. I mean, I like everyone equally, but I really have a soft spot for Hera. And I love in this episode how, and it mentioned it in Rebels Recon, about how at this moment in this episode, we really get an understanding that you think for the last 6 episodes that Kanan's been kind of running things, because he's Spectre 1, right? Mm-hmm. You get to this one, it's like, no, Hera collects the intel, Hera organizes the missions, she organizes the team to get supplies. So this kind of building that, it's like, oh no, she's the leader, which I think is, again, really cool.
I think it's interesting that in a couple episodes, okay, she's just a pilot, because she's done pickups, she's had to wait on their butts.
Yeah. But to have someone to be in a leadership position and be compassionate at the same time, like, I just sing praises for that. But also I'm going to play her side, okay, devil's advocate, because I don't want to spoil it for people. Knowing where Hera is coming from, she's had nothing to believe in but the rebellion her entire life.
Yeah.
She's found a home in the people that are on the ship, and a home in the rebels and the rebellion itself, something that maybe she didn't have growing up. Mm-hmm. So, whereas Sabine, I feel like, I don't want to give too much away, but but yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. But again, at the same time, because I do have trust issues too, I don't know how I would feel about blindly following anybody.
And once you get, I love how you said a compassionate leader, because what I love about, I'm gonna get emotional. Sorry. What I love about Hera is she's a leader, and Sabine's telling her, I don't trust what you're telling me. You're not being honest with me. I feel like you're not being honest with me because you're telling me everything. And Hera is the most compassionate person when she's, like, telling her. She's not yelling at her. She's not giving her an order.
Right. She could have just said, no, you will do it.
You will do this because I order you to. She's coming at it more of protection and I care about you.
Right.
And we care about each other. The Ghost is family.
Mm-hmm.
We look after our own.
Mm-hmm.
So... And she's straight with her. She's like, look, it's, you can't reveal what you don't know. We're trying to protect each other. And that's what I love about it. It's not just straight up, no, you will do this.
Again, which I think is by the end, I think when, Hera says, you saved my life out there, and you have to, like, there's no bigger trust than putting your life in someone else's hands. And I think Sabine understands the difference between being involved in the Empire, which breaking ranks, which we talked about.
Yeah.
Not compassionate, It's, you will or else, and the way that Hera's leadership is in this episode.
Yeah. And that's what, and see, if I was Sabine and she was, she takes her by the shoulders and is like, what you need is faith. Like, she's telling her what, believe in me, believe in the Ghost, believe in what we're fighting for, because we're fighting for essentially freedom. Mm-hmm. And even more so. Mm-hmm. So that's just a beautiful thing to me. If I was Sabine in that moment, I was like, you have my complete trust. Because the way you are talking to me.
Right,
But again, Sabine, she's still one of those people that's like, I need the answers though.
Right, and plus we don't know how long Sabine's been with them.
True.
She's with the Ghost crew when Ezra joins, but how further was that before, what's the timeline there? But what would you rate this episode out of 10? Wildcats.
Out of 10, I would probably rate it a 7.
I put 6, but I think I'm gonna go up to a 7 because I thought it was a pretty good. I don't know, you got into it, so I'm gonna give a 7 to it.
What was one of your favorite moments? I already kind of said mine because I'm all about the explosions. I'm like kind of like Sabine. I love the way they look, not in real life, but like. Stop myself right there.
I will say the part about Kanan. Who's not in it a lot, but in that little moment about the joke about, did you sense what was happening? He's like, no, I heard you yelling outside the door. I thought that was funny. I like the way that the shots are set up for the fight between them and the Phrynox and shooting the canisters is really cool. What is something that you wish the episode had done better at doing?
I don't know. It was pretty. What I loved about it was pacing. The pacing
was really good. So normally I would say something about the pacing or plot hole.
Maybe where the heck the Rhydonian canisters
Yeah.
came
We
from.
can just say nick that. Say, I don't know. I can understand more a gunner ship laying in a base that didn't blow up than highly combustible material not
yeah.
blowing up. Yeah, that is kind of weird.
We'll just say that some smuggler operation left in there. Like, oh crap, there's these creatures. Just leave it.
That's possible. It could happen. Yeah.
We'll say it was what's his name? Hondo.
Oh crap! Creatures, run, my friends, run!
Yeah, he did it. We'll blame him. Anything else about this episode you want to add? Or?
I mean, we have some quotes from IGN, who gave it a 7.8 out of 10. This is quoting, apparently Eric Goldman wrote this article, and I'm assuming probably other people that were on the IGN team. It says, it's nice to know, this is a quote, it's nice to learn how the different potential character pairings on the show can work, as the 2 female members of the Ghost Crew get an episode focused on them. If anything, I wish there was a two-part storyline that let Hera and Sabine have more quiet time before the action kicked in.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier.
Yeah.
It was very...
The pacing was good, but maybe a little bit too quick. Maybe.
Yeah, it was like... Which it happens a lot in Rebels, where you have this underlying dynamic or something that's going on between the characters, but it's like, we're at war, guys! Type of situation.
Yeah, that deserves more time than 22 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
So again, going on to the article, it says, but the fight was pretty cool. There are some nice visuals here, from those colorful explosions caused by Sabine to an awesome shot of Sabine and Hera in silhouette standing on top of the ship shooting at the creatures.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. Yeah. So really cool, again, really cool visuals. Anything else you want to add?
I love Hera and Sabine.
Likewise.
It was nice to get an episode where they were kind of the focus.
Mm-hmm.
They were the focus, actually.
Yeah. And again, I think in this episode it was needed.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for listening to us. You can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, or X, and we'll see you next time.